Yeah. I will use the mic just in case we need it. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Like Gary said, this is a partnership that I wanted and went out and wanted to work with Kansas and traveling here twice a year for races and other things for other reasons. It's something that this Protect Your Melon and Use Your Melon program started back in 2015. So we're more than a decade into this campaign, and it all started out of seeing accidents on the road and traveling for the NASCAR Truck Series and Xfinity Series at the time. With my family, we saw an accident and thought, well, it was really bad when we came up on it on the highway, and started talking about it. And then as I did more research, I realized that they weren't accidents; they were crashes. People were crashing on I-70 and in these interstates across the country and rural roads, just like we were on the racetrack. And out of that, Protect Your Melon was born, a thought that I'm a race car driver. I crash on the racetrack. I win on the racetrack. I hadn't won at that point yet, but that was the goal. But when I get out of the race car, I get right back into a vehicle that I traveled there in. And in America, in today's world, we get everywhere. We got everybody here at Kansas Speedway this weekend will get here through some form of transportation in a vehicle. And you'll have that option and that choice to make to put on a seatbelt. And so as we dove into the reason people were being injured and the reason for these crashes, they're not accidents, they're actual crashes, we thought we could do something in trying to be proactive and preventative. And then when I started meeting troopers and these officers that are out trying to prevent crashes and for their speed related, or if they are crashing, have people have their seatbelts on. I realized that the old saying that they weren't writing tickets for a quota; they were doing it to try to save lives, and that's something that I wanted to be a part of. I'm not an officer; I'm not anybody of the law, but I have a unique perspective of crashing. I've hit a concrete wall with a safer barrier on it at 140 miles an hour, virtually head on, just a couple of years ago in 2022, and without a seatbelt system in place, I would not be here today. Drivers, as recently as I'll say 20 years ago, were not walking away from crashes like that. And when I think about my seatbelts, I have 3 belts that come between my legs from the bottom. I have 2 lap belts. I have 2 shoulder belts that physically touch me, and then I have 2 more on top of that hold the Hans device. So it's a web. Think of it as a spider web that holds me in, and it's holding me into a custom designed seat that keeps me from moving left or right and keeps me in place. It's a foam mold I sit in inside of a carbon fiber bucket with a head surround that won't let my head move more than 1/8 of an inch left or right. The Hans device keeps my head from moving an inch forward. It'll catch me. I'm in fireproof everything. Everything in the car has steel plates and metal bars, steel bars around me on the sides to keep anything from coming in from the side. A window net, bulletproof plastic windshield and back glass. All this stuff to keep us safe as race car drivers so we can go out at Kansas Speedway and race at almost 200 miles an hour, 4 wide, and have dramatic finishes like we had a year ago, and for us to get a very nice and boring win last fall. All of that said, when I get out of the race car, I get in a Chevy, get in my Silverado to drive back to the airport, or a Tahoe, and I'm buckling up and I'm trying to get there just like everybody else. And I'm in the same traffic getting out of the racetracks when tens of thousands of people are getting out of the grandstands and going home through some form of an automobile. We want everybody to get home. I want to get home selfishly, and I want other people to get home. And that's the goal of this. That's why we're driven to zero. That's why the Protect Your Melon, to buckle up, use your melon, to make the right decisions, to have a designated driver. I don't want to be on the road with impaired drivers. I don't want any kind of distracting anybody on the roads, because I'm on the roads too. I'm on I-70 coming over the track this morning with everybody else. And we have enough things in life going against us. Highway safety and making the wrong decisions shouldn't be a part of that. And for me, I have a personal story of one of my best friends growing up. We went to school together. And we grew up, and our families knew each other for longer than Cody and I, my friend, were even alive. But right out of high school, just a couple of months, him and another friend of mine, Shane, they were working nights at a lawn care company. They were sharpening mower blades and servicing the lawnmowers. And they got done, and they were going to get dinner. They were headed up to Wendy's to grab food and grab some burgers, and they never made it. They were in a car crash. They were in a truck crash. Somebody turned in front of them. They rolled. Cody was driving, rolled the truck. Neither one of them were belted, and Cody was ejected out of the driver's window. Shane was pushed down into the floorboard. Now, Shane crawled out of the truck when it came to a stop after it barrel rolled several times. He's fine. He walked out of the hospital the next morning. Cody never stood up again. Cody has never walked again. He's in a power chair, still living a great life, has a clothing brand, a lifestyle brand called Why Not that is very successful, but is in a power chair, drives in an assisted truck with hand controls. Super athletic guy, had the world in front of him, and because he was unbelted, he was ejected and will never walk again. That was another part of why Protect Your Melon was formed. It took us a couple years to really grasp what we wanted to do, but that was a real driving factor. And I think for a lot of people, some sort of traffic crash has affected their life, and it's usually not for the better. So from all of that said, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here, and that's why I wanted to work with the work in Kansas to try to be proactive with residents here. And whether you're traveling in for the race from out of state or you live here, we want you to be safe on Kansas roads. Whether that's I-70 and you're running down the interstate, or you're on a gravel road out in rural Kansas, there's a lot of life to live, and we don't want being unbelted to be a part of that life. So thank y'all for having me, and I'll turn it back over to you, Gary.